thank you to Brian for your support on Patreon.
Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Saturday of TJ's route. Holy shit. Oh boy. We arrive at the lake at about 10 in the morning. Julian had drive down over an hour ago to pick us up before driving to Carl's house. Carl wasn't ready when we got there, and when we answered the door, his eyes were bleary and red. It took him a good 20 minutes to get ready, and all the while I struggled not to glare at him. It's weird, I've been friends with the Ram for almost my entire life, and it's only now that I'm feeling real disgust for the person that he is. So many self-created problems. He keeps his head down most of the time, so he doesn't see me. He's feeling sick too, so he opts to ride in the truck bed on the way down, and Jenna sits with him. Can't help but wonder what might happen if we have an accident. TJ sits next to me, and this time I'm sure to sit in the middle so that Julian is on my left and TJ is on my right. Feels better this way. As the lake comes into view, I rest upon TJ's knee. He glances at me, then nods in acknowledgement. I give his thigh a squeeze, then wait as we pull into the parking lot, going over the scenarios in my head for what might happen. Well, here we are. We don't say anything in response as we quietly get out of the truck. Jenna jumps out of the truck bed easily, but Carl struggles, and I imagine him falling straight out and face-planting onto the asphalt. Jenna helps him, though, and then we're all walking down the trail towards the lake, single file. I walk right behind TJ, though, so I can keep an eye on him and anyone else that might try to fuck with him. Wow, it's been 12 years since I've been down here. Yeah. There's a cool freshness to the air by the lake. I breathe it in and get hit with the sweet memories of spending entire days down here. Swimming in the lake, building sandcastles, poking at dead fish on the beach. As we start walking on that beach and approach the big boulder, I feel my heart start to hammer in my chest. I pick up my speed to catch up to TJ. How you feeling? I'm okay. You don't sound okay. I'm nervous. We all are. I actually feel like I'm gonna throw up. TJ suddenly reaches out his paw and holds mine. I'm surprised. TJ's never done this before, and though I know it's probably due to the situation we're in, it still makes me feel warm inside. It's going to be okay. I know it. This is gonna be the end. TJ's voice breaks up on the last word. The end? The end of what, exactly? TJ's guilt over Sydney? The mystery over what exactly happened to him? Of the world as we know it? Yeah, that's probably it. Before I know that after this morning things are never going to be... Because I know that after this morning things are never going to be the same again. Just remember that if it's buried by that boulder, it's probably gone by now. I know I've said that every time before, but the lake has been flooded a few times since. I look up at the steep, rocky bank on our right. Remember that spring where we went all the way up to the road? Yeah. I look back at our friends. Jen is walking side by side with Carl, talking to him in a low voice. Julian is ahead of them, and he's looking directly at me. I look away. I'm just saying that even if it's there, it's probably water damage to the point we won't be able to read it. TJ stays silent just as we come up to the rock, sitting there on the beach like it has since I can remember. Probably like it has since before the lake was even created. TJ still holds my paw as Julian, Jenna, and Carl stand next to us, the five of us in a sort of semicircle around the boulder. Well, here we are. Julian says the exact same thing he said in the parking lot, and I feel myself starting to get annoyed. But I cling to TJ's paw, and that calms me down a little. So if it's still here, it could be anywhere, knowing Sydney, Jenna says his name carefully. He'd probably leave a marker of some kind. This one could be hard to find. Remember that he said it's by Carl's drawing. It'd probably be right next to that.
I don't know, guys. The other ones were inside of something. Who's just out on a beach? The scent's changing all the time.
Carl digs at oh! Hey! Vinicius Embedo. Thank you for the subscribe. Carl digs at the damp sand with a hoof, his paws shoved into his pockets, eyes downcast. Everything okay, Carl? I say it sharply, not bothering to filter out the annoyance in my voice. He looks up at me a bit surprised.
Huh? Yeah, I'm okay. Just feel sicker from the ride down.
Smoke too much? Carl frowns.
No, it just get sick sometimes when I'm stressed out. The weed makes me feel less sick, actually.
I stop myself from asking what it is he's so stressed out about.
Are you okay, Chase?
I'm good. Shouldn't be drawing all attention to myself right now. Meanwhile, Julian is walking around the boulder looking for the drawing. TJ lets go of my paw finally and starts to walk around the boulder from the other side. Almost immediately, he points excitedly. Oh, Carl, you're drawing! Carl sidles up to him before chuckling quietly.
Oh, yeah. For some reason, I thought it'd be gone by now.
Why would it be? You chipped it into the rock. Didn't you spend like a month doing that? Carl looks down at his paws.
Yeah, fucked my paws up doing it too.
Move around to stand next to them and see the rough outline of a muscular wolf with a long cape. Super Wolf. Carl had been obsessed with that superhero since the new movie was coming out that summer. I don't think he liked it very much because right after he saw it, he stopped working on the etching. It's actually pretty good, especially when you consider that Carl was like 9 when he did it. I push those memories out of my head, wiping out the smiling childhood face of Carl from my mind. Then I steel myself, preparing for what I'm going to say and for what's about to happen. Look at the sand underneath it. Everyone looks down in unison when I'm pointing my finger. I let it sink in for a moment before I say it. The dirt. Looks like someone dug it up recently. No one says anything. Or maybe this sand's just wetter there, I don't know. TJ kneels down to the boulder, reaching out a paw to steady himself against it as Julian kneels down across from him. He reaches out with the other paw, poking at the loose-looking dirt, slightly darker than the sand around it. Still, no one says anything, and I decide not to push it further, knowing that I've already planted a seed of doubt in TJ's mind. You should have grabbed a garden shovel from your house, Carl.
Yeah.
I pick up the flat rock I used last night. Here. I hand it to Julian. He looks at it for a second before digging the sharp end into the dirt. It sinks in deep and easily before the stag turns it in the sand. Less than a minute later, TJ gasps and reaches into the shallow hole, pulling out the lunchbox. Now that there's daylight, I can see the chipped green paint on the dragon. TJ holds it for a moment, staring down at it. Julian looks around at us. Was that Sydney's? I can't remember, but TJ nods and with shaky hands unlatches the metal clasps. Carl stands further back than the rest of us, motionless. Jenna once again has a paw to her mouth, not saying anything. TJ opens the lid. The hinges squeak a little as the tin lid flops open, revealing my note. Paw still shaking, TJ reaches in. At this point, there's little hesitation in TJ's movements. He's eager to find out what it says, eager to get this done. TJ unfolds the note, then reads it. He doesn't read it aloud, instead letting his eyes go back and forth over the page while the rest of us wait. I know at this point he's finished reading it, but he still doesn't say anything. Eyes glued to the page. And the music has stopped. Oh boy. TJ? TJ doesn't say anything, continuing to stare. TJ, what does it say? TJ sits there for a few more seconds before he wordlessly holds out the note to no one in particular. His face is blank for the most part, but I can see the shock in his eyes. Julian takes it from him and starts reading.
You've reached the end, but I don't have the answer, so I'll ask again. TJ, what happened to Sydney?
Oh! Oh no! Oh, that's fucked! Oh, that's fucked all the way up. The silence that follows is one of the heaviest that I've ever experienced. Carl's still frozen, but now he's looking up at Julian. Jenna's moved her paw from her mouth at this point, but she's clutching her necklace, her eyes on TJ. Julian is just staring at the links, waiting, probably unsure of what any of this means. TJ, meanwhile, stares at the hole that we dug up, his paws laying limp in his lap, ears drooping. I started walking over to him.
What does it mean? Do you guys know?
I rest upon TJ's shoulder, touching it softly. He doesn't move. So I crouch down next to him, slowly wrapping an arm around his shoulders, drawing him in. I can feel him trembling.
Guys?
I look over at Julian with a sad look on my face. We have a friend who has a grudge about this whole thing. I think he might have been the one leaving the notes. TJ shakes his head against mine, but he doesn't say anything. Julian stares.
But why?
I shrug, beginning to stroke the top of TJ's head. Julian looks from me to TJ. I don't know. Maybe he thought this was his last chance to hurt TJ somehow. I really don't know. Jenna and Carl have walked up to stand next to us, and both seem to be at a loss for words.
The paper is different, though.
TJ's voice is distant and faint, muffled against my chest. There ways to make paper look old. Maybe if you have all the fucking answers, Chase, you're gonna fucking implicate yourself. Maybe he just didn't have time with this one. Julian shakes his head.
Listen, I've not only been a part of this for a day, but this is crazy, and those are a lot of assumptions. Do you really know what happened?
If you knew this friend of ours like we do, you'd understand how obvious this is. But then Jenna shakes her head as well.
No, Flynn wouldn't do this. He's a jerk, but he wouldn't do this.
You know what Flynn's been sending? You know that Flynn's been sending TJ threatening texts all week, and then he's been out to fuck with TJ since we got here. Jenna shakes her head again, but doesn't say anything.
He wouldn't.
I snap my gaze at Carl, glaring.
Dude, even at his worst, he'd never do something like this. It's too fucked up. All that work just to fuck with us, and it has to do with Sydney? No.
And who found the first note? Who's been Flynn's best friend since we all left?
Whoa, Chase.
Carl's eyes go wide. TJ finally lifts his head, looking up at Carl. Oh, fuck! Someone says, you're the one that gave it to us, set us off on this whole bullshit scavenger hunt. Carl takes a step back, mouth hanging open, looking at me like I'm some sort of alien or something. So I'm going to assume that we said that. This entire thing was fucking crazy from the start. Our dead friend who left notes behind a decade ago, and somehow it's still all here. In the old school? In that house? Fuck that! Chase, stop it. Jenna's voice is soft and distant, lacking any sort of authority. I stand up suddenly, staring the ram down.
No.
Carl takes another step back, and I can see his chest heaving. He can't even get his words out. It's like he's just run a marathon and he can't catch his breath. Huh?
I don't.
Carl clutches his chest, and I can't help but notice how fucking guilty he looks right now. He suddenly retches and gags loudly. Carl, breathe. No, you can't use your fucking anxiety, I make air quotes. You monster. As a shield right now? Did Flynn put you up to this? Carl retches again and doubles over, spitting on the ground. Carl. Jenna starts walking towards the ram, but at that point something rushes up past me and past Jenna. I have a moment to see TJ's back. His tufted ears laid flat against his head like he's moving so fast that the wind pushed them back. There's another quick movement that I can't quite see from my angle. But then Carl stumbling back, a paw up to his face, letting out a gasp like he's been holding his breath for 10 minutes. I lunge forward, reaching out for TJ as the cat goes in for another swipe. Oh shit! Carl jumps back towards the embankment. As he does, he lands on the many rocks that separate the beach from the road. Grab the back of TJ's shirt, but at the same time I see Carl's hoof disappear between rocks, then he falls back. And then there's another sound, like a thick branch snapping in two, cutting through the air like a gunshot. Immediately, Carl lets out the most hideous scream that I've ever heard the ram make. No! Jenna runs past us, followed by Julian at a more even jog. Meanwhile, I hold on to TJ, the lynx still going after Carl, making a yowling sound as his claws swipe at the "Hey, Breezewolf, thank you for the subscribe." A yowling sound as his claws swipe at the air, baring his teeth. He's wild, feral, not thinking at all. TJ, stop! I'm here. I try talking into the lynx's ear at the same time, and I feel him starting to go limp in my grasp, the energy and rage slowly going out of him. I finally feel safe enough to turn him around, pulling him into a hug. It's okay. You got him. You're fine. DJ looks toward Carl one last time, watching the ram roll back and forth on his back, choking, howling, and screaming all at once. Oh my god! DJ suddenly turns his face into my chest and starts to cry. Jesus, his ankle. Carl, can you move? But Carl isn't listening, continuing to scream and hyperventilate at the same time. Call an ambulance! I don't know who she's talking to, but Julian pulls out his phone. TJ continues to sob into my chest, and I start to move away towards the trail, pulling TJ with me. I'm taking TJ back to the motel. Yes, please leave, please! Jenna snarls at me over her shoulder. Hi, we need paramedics. Someone here has tripped and broke his leg, and now he can't get up. Carl, I know it hurts, but you need to breathe. I'm gonna count. Jenna's voice fades away as I start fast walking towards the trail, pulling a sobbing TJ along with me. Fuck! TJ finally pulls away from me when we reach the parking lot and starts walking ahead, hugging himself. I follow behind him at a close distance, listening to him sob for a while. It isn't until we reach the road that he's finally calmed down enough to stop sobbing. I walk quietly behind him for a little bit longer before finally catching up, walking next to him. He doesn't say anything and goes on hugging himself, hiccuping softly every once in a while. I wonder if I should say anything, ask him about what happened, or even change the subject completely. Eventually, though, he's the one to speak first. I didn't mean to... He cuts off as he goes into a coughing fit. I rub him on the back gently. It's okay. You don't have to explain yourself after what he did. Do you think... He takes a deep breath, finally steadying his words. Do you think he really did that? I let the silence drag out for a moment before finally replying. Who else could it have been? I completely understand why you went along with all the notes, but in the end, this was the only realistic conclusion we were going to get to. Yeah. I just didn't think they'd do something like this, especially Carl. Carl. TJ says Carl's name softly. I still don't know if he did it, but then I remembered what he said when we played Spin the Bottle. Felt like it had to be him. I was just so angry. I've never been so angry in my life. It was scary. I mean, maybe Flynn didn't tell him everything about what was going on. I guess he could have been tricked into thinking Flynn somehow had good intentions and all this. I don't know. His leg. TJ covers his face like he's about to start crying again. I quickly put my arm around him and hold him close. Hey, this isn't your fault. Honestly, he deserved that scratch you gave him. He fell on his own. TJ shakes his head. I can't even remember what happened. I started running at him like I wasn't in control. It was like all automatic or something. Him too? TJ. I stop the lynx and turn him towards me, even though he keeps covering up his face. This is not your fault. What Flynn and Carl did to you was absolutely disgusting, and honestly, I'm amazed that you were able to hold yourself back as much as you did. The sounds he was making, it sounded so awful. TJ's face screws up under his paws. I hug him again. No, we only had a taste of the pain you're feeling on the inside. Now stop thinking about him. It's over. This whole thing is over. TJ starts crying softly again, and I hold him closer, letting him get it out of his system. Over his shoulder, I can see the ambulance lights flashing, though they didn't have the siren on. I'm thankful for that, at least. My phone buzzes in my pocket a few times, but I ignore it, waiting until the Link's soft sobs taper out. I turn him away from the lake so he doesn't see the lights, and we keep walking slowly up the road. Less than a mile away, the motel sign glints in the sunlight. TJ shuffles along, continuing his quiet snuffling. Did you want to leave today? I don't know. Maybe. Well, let's get back to the motel and sit down for a while, okay? Then we can decide what we want to do. Okay. TJ's breathing evens out again as we get closer to the motel. But why do you think Flynn would do that? It doesn't make any sense. I shrug. Well, like I said yesterday, I think now that he knows he isn't going to get the answers he wants, he's just out to hurt us now. And that's it, really. You were right. I guess I just didn't think he could be capable of that. I mean, you always see the best in people. There's nothing wrong with that. TJ didn't respond, and we're silent the rest of the way there. First thing TJ does when we get inside is lay on the bed and stare at the ceiling. I check my texts and see that they're all from Jenna. They say Carl just broke his ankle and that he's going to be fine. Julian is driving me to the hospital so we can sit with Carl and bring him back when they're done. By the way, when they asked Carl what happened, he said he slipped on a rock and fell. He said that's where the scratch came from, too. I assume he doesn't want us to tell anyone about what happened. You should think about checking out early. I'm probably going to a friend's house in Payton after this. I stare at the last text, wondering what exactly it means. She's going to a friend's house, and that's just it? Almost sounds like she's just done with us. I guess one good thing came out of this then. Carl's going to be fine. He told the paramedics that he slipped on a rock, so I don't think he's going to be, pressing charges or anything. TJ covers his face, and I hope that he isn't about to cry again, but when he starts talking, his voice is steady and even. I'm going to have to see him before we leave. I don't want to leave town like this. He sounds defeated, like he knows things are now ruined beyond any sort of repair. I suddenly feel a wave of compassion and love for the Lynx, and the one purely good person in this shit town. I get up and drape myself over the bed next to TJ. He looks up in surprise, ears perked and twitching, his tufts waving around in the most adorable way. Listen, I know we can't just forget what happened back there, and I know we can't just fix everything, but I pause and wait till TJ looks up at me. I want to spend the rest of this weekend together and just have fun. There's not really much else we can do. TJ looks back up at the ceiling. But what about your project? I laugh. Dude, that does not matter anymore. I'll just retake the class over the summer or something. It doesn't sound good. I don't want to cause you to fail. You're not. I'm making this decision. TJ continues to stare at the ceiling, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. I just broke Carl's leg. Carl fell and broke his leg, TJ. No, I did it. Things are so messed up now. His voice starts to go up high again, and I quickly put a paw on his shoulder. We can't think about that anymore. It's over. I rub his shoulder comfortingly. You know what? Let's go to Payton. Get out of this crappy town and do something, okay? TJ lets out a shuddery sigh. Maybe. I just need a minute. Okay. I roll over and look out the window through the blinds, feeling like I've accomplished something. Things went a little further than what I'd planned on, but it's working out for the best. My main issue now is figuring out what the hell Flynn and Carl were planning with all that bullshit. And what all they know. Assuming it had been them at all, but as of right now, I can't imagine who else it could have been. I feel a little guilty about what happened to Carl, but I had to show everyone how stupid and crazy the whole thing was. And just then, I see Flynn's truck roll into the parking lot. I tense up, staring in disbelief. What the hell reason would he have to come here? I'm only frozen up for a moment before I suddenly swing my legs off the bed. I don't know if TJ's looking. I hope not as I start closing the blinds. I'll close these so the sun isn't shining in your eyes, and I'm going to make a call to Jenna and make sure things are going all right, okay? I look back and I'm relieved to see TJ only now still looking over at me. Okay. Tell her I'm sorry. I will. Now, get some rest. I try not to look like I'm in a hurry as I go to the door and open it just wide enough for me to slide out. Flynn's truck pulls into a parking space about 20 feet away, and I jog over to him before he can get out. Hey, I say just as he opens the door. He looks at me coldly for a moment before getting out and slamming the door shut.
Hey.
We stand there awkwardly for a full 10 seconds, but Flynn doesn't say anything. You need something?
Why do you think I'm here, Chase?
I shrug. I have no idea, Flynn. Flynn stares at me for a few more seconds as he chews out a toothpick in his mouth.
You were down by the lake.
That's a really weird thing to assume, Flynn. Flynn scoffs.
Don't play with me. I see ambulance lights over by the lake, and 10 minutes later I get a text from Carl telling me he hurt his leg.
Really, Flynn? People go down by the lake all the time. Could have been anyone.
No one goes down by the lake. I know you've been sneaking around the town doing shady shit with Tej and Jan.
I keep on a straight face, refusing to crack under Flynn's pressure.
The only reason why I didn't ask you what the fuck you were doing is because I know you all hate me right now. But if you really went down there together, that's fucked.
Why is that fucked, Flynn? Because you decided it's off limits for everyone else because it makes you feel bad? Fuck off. Flynn's eyes widen for a moment.
Do not fuck with me on this, Chase. You know that's the last thing I ever want to hear from you.
It's strange how I feel right now. Normally I'd be trying to calm the lizard, trying to talk him through his temper and past trauma, but now I don't care. Just like with Carl, I don't care how far this goes. This is his fault in the end. I can't believe you, Flynn. You start this whole thing, and now you try to act like the victim. It's fucking disgusting. Flynn gives me a baffled look.
What are you talking about? You mean what I said by the river?
Actually, yeah. That was probably the start of it.
How does that lead to you assholes fucking around by the lake?
You know exactly how. I watch Flynn carefully, trying to see if I can sense anything in his demeanor and his expressions. I've never really known him to lie. But if he's lying right now, then he's fucking amazing at it because all I can sense is bewilderment. He must have a lot of experience with lying.
Chase, what the fuck is up with you right now?
What do you mean?
You're acting like an ass.
Oh, so now you know how we all feel when you talk to us. Flynn stares at me, studying me. Then he looks up.
Who's here?
No one.
The fuck? Where's TJ and Jenna?
Not here. Flynn glances down at me.
Well, I gotta take a piss, so can I come in?
No. We stare each other down for a long, long time. Finally, Flynn pushes past me.
Well, I'm gonna give the door a knock to see if anyone's there. Maybe you missed him.
Whirl around and follow him angrily. He doesn't want to talk to you. Flynn turns to me.
Oh, so TJ's here then. Why didn't you tell me that?
Why do you think, Flynn? You need to leave right now. Flynn glares down at me.
I know you guys are up to something having to do with Sydney. If that's the case, then I have every right to know.
Flynn starts walking again.
And he has every right to talk to me himself.
I dart around Flynn and stand in front of the lizard, glaring up at him, bracing myself once again.
Get out of my way, Chase.
Leave him alone. Flynn pauses.
All I want to do is talk, that's it.
I let out a mirthless laugh. After what you did at the river, hell no! Flynn tries to push around me again. I grab his arm. He swings, trying to yank it back, and I shove him back towards his truck. Leave! I'd be yelling right now, but I don't want TJ to hear us through the thin motel walls.
Don't fucking touch me and get out of my fucking way!
Tries again, and this time I grab his arm and yank him away, swinging him like Leo did at the river. He might be tall, but I'm kind of amazed at how easily I can manipulate Flynn's body like a mannequin. Either that, or I just don't know my own strength. Flynn rolls with a curse and immediately pops back up, taking an awkward swing at my head.
Fucking little prick!
I duck his punch and tackle him around the waist, knocking us both to the asphalt as Flynn grunts loudly.
Ugh!
I scramble on top of the lizard and sit on his chest, pinning his arms under my knees. Again, he could barely move under me. Weak. Weak. I snarl down at him, raising a fist. Flynn flinches, closing his eyes and turning his head away. I pause, letting the tension build. Finally, I slowly lower it. Leave, Flynn. Otherwise I'm gonna cave your fucking face in. I'm tired of you bullying TJ and taking out all your problems on the rest of us and just being a miserable piece of shit all your life. I keep my voice low, almost growling like a canine. Flynn cracks open an eye, looking at me. In fear. I fucking hate you. I always have, and you deserve to have every single one of your fucking teeth knocked down for the way you've always treated us. I look back towards the door, but it's closed. Quiet. I look back down at Flynn. Leave. And I never want to see your ugly fucking your ugly fucking ever again. Face ever again. Understand? Flynn just stares up at me. I can see the fear still, and maybe even a little hurt. What happened, Chase? I don't say anything. I know he isn't gonna fight anymore. I get up and Flynn lays there for a moment staring at me. Finally, he rolls over and gets to his feet unsteadily. Then, without a word, gets back into his truck and starts it up. Turn away finally, hearing the lizard pull out of the parking lot as I open the door to the motel. I'm relieved to see TJ sitting on the bed, looking down at his phone. I was positive that he'd heard something. He looks at me when he hears the door open. Hey. Hey, Tej. What'd she say? Carl's good. Doctor's just checking him out. She said you're fine and that she understands why you did it, but I guess she's a little stressed out, too, because she's going to a friend's house in Peyton. Oh. TJ's ears lower. I think she just wants to give you space. Maybe. I did get a text from Julian. Really? There's that twinge of irritation. Yeah. Said he was going to stop by after he drops off Carl. I was thinking we could wait until then before we leave. To talk to Julian, at least. I don't think Carl wants to see me. Okay. Try not to let the anger creep into my voice as I sit down on the bed next to the Lynx. And Chase? Yeah? TJ smiles at me through his puffy eyes and matted cheek fur. Thank you for being there for me. It means a lot.
Guilty. Time to be guilty. You are so fucking guilty.
But you feel no remorse, so... yeah. Sociopaths are like that. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been the trained unprofessional, speaking for the voices in my head when I say until next time. Fare thee well. Bye, everyone!